Welcome back, guys, to Chocozone, second episode of second season of our podcast. We are still in US, and this time we meet a really special guest that have a own story about chocolate. Third generation that work with it, great experience with cocoa trees, chocolatier job, into bar chocolate maker, and also since the last years a new experience in a new field of chocolate like the edibles. It is a new market that gives an opportunity to grow and have a great possibility to develop new steps of the job of chocolate maker. Enjoy this episode and send us your opinion about this interview. Welcome back in Chocozone podcast, guys. We are still in US and this time we are in Miami, Florida. We are with a special guy. He has Israeli roots, born in Venezuela, arrived in the USA from Dominican Republic. He has a big culture about cocoa and chocolate. When I know him, he was a sort of from tree to bar, and now he is still working with chocolate. And so here we are with Moises Davidovitz. Hello Moses, how are you?
Hi, Moises.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for this amazing, opportunity.
Yeah, it's a pleasure also for us to have you and to talk about different field about the matter of chocolate. Tell us before where are you coming from? Something about your experience. The backstage of before of chocolate, and also about cocoa and chocolate.
Okay, so I'm a third generation chocolate maker. I was born with the smell of the cacao in my house because my grandparents came from Europe. They were from Poland and Romania, and they end up in Venezuela. And they start working with cacao, trading cacao. Then my parents started a factory to process the cacao and converting it into butter, liquor, and powder. So I remember my dad, sometimes all, covered in cacao powder.
Smelling cacao.
The smell of chocolate and cacao, it's something that, since I was born. So, and then I came to help the family business, and I can tell you that it has been about, let's say, 25 years since I started formally into the chocolate business. So I started in Venezuela. We have two factories still working, but it's more about industrial products. It's more about big, 1 kilo bars and chocolate sprinkles and many other related products that are not artisan chocolate. Then I moved to Dominican Republic. I set up a new factory, and we understood, and also the market was changing. We understood of the value of making artisan chocolate and using the cacao from the Dominican Republic, which is also amazing as the Venezuelan one, to make bean to bar chocolate. So we started making bean to bar artisan chocolates to export for different places like Japan, UK, etc., etc.
And then in which way do you arrive in Miami, where you are now?
I say it this way. In the Dominican Republic, it was a beautiful challenge of helping the country to understand that they can do more with their cacao, right? And it was a great challenge, and I think we did a great job. And then I received a call from the directors of the company where I am now. It's a public traded company here in US, and they needed someone to help them develop the portfolio of chocolate with functional ingredients, CBD and many other ingredients. So I love the challenge. I like I think it was a great opportunity, and so we move on. Now we are in this amazing challenge.
Yeah. But you have also experience about the trees with that you have seen in Venezuela and also in Santo Domingo, or
Sure, absolutely. I mean, in Venezuela and in Santo Domingo, it was easy because it's a cocoa producer country, so it's easy just to go there. More in Dominican Republic than in Venezuela because Venezuela, the fields are far from the capital, and security is an issue. You had to go, take it very good care of it because of the things in Venezuela. But in Dominican Republic, I used to go, I don't know, once every 2 weeks or once per week to the field because it's like an hour, 1 hour drive. I mean, because the island is small. So I used to go there, and I love to be there and check with the foundations or the farmers, about the cacao and how it's going and everything. So also I did a formal training in Trinidad and Tobago because there is a cacao gene bank in there, and so I studied on the University of West Indies in order to specialize into everything related not only with chocolate but also with cacao.
So talking about the experience that you have with the farmers, either in Venezuela or in Santo Domingo, do you feel that there was a kind of a change when the artisan, the small chocolate makers, starting getting in contact with the farmers? Did they find some advantages on dealing with the smaller company than the big ones? You also are experienced for both big company as a buyer of cocoa beans and smaller company. It was some kind of taking a big breath for the farmers.
More than the local industry that it's growing and it's developing of chocolate artisans. I think that the whole market, the whole worldwide trend and market of artisan chocolate, it's obviously growing. It's taking a lot of market share, and it's impacting all the cacao producer countries. Just to give you an example, when we arrived in Dominican Republic, and it was 2011, there, I believe that most of the cacao was not fermented, was what they called the Sanchez, which is a term that they use for cacao that it's not fermented. And most of the cacao was exported as it is. And if you see now, almost 10 years after, you'll see them almost all of the cacao in the Dominican Republic is fermented. It's what they call Hispaniola. And they sell. I believe I'm sure that they sell a lot more to companies or distributors that are dealing with artisan chocolates. So and obviously they raise the value of the cacao. 10 years ago, the value, the price of the cacao in Dominican Republic was not even close to what it is now. The premiums are higher, which means, or should mean, more profit for the farmers and more profit for, that lower part of the chain.
to have this opportunity. In our podcast, we have had a lot of different guests, but no one that worked with the CBD. So please explain us this ingredient, because at the end it is also an ingredient that you use in your chocolate, and the problem that you have to work with it, and also the good thing that you can find with it.
Okay, so I believe that to give functionality, to give purpose to the food is a future, or it's the next trend, right? And that applies obviously to chocolates because CBD is a functional ingredient. But there are a lot of other ingredients that are trend, and here in US specifically, you can't believe how many trends are: ashwagandha, turmeric, elderberry. I mean, there are many natural ingredients that are now really making an entry into everyday lives.
It's the country of superfood.
Exactly. But the superfoods have been always are all around us, but nobody really, take care of it. So I think that in between, people trying to look for something else more than just the experience and the traceability of the artisan work. They were looking for something else, and also the pandemic and the quest for more healthy products and so on has ended up with this new trend. So CBD, it's a functional ingredient, right? That comes. It's like the cousin of the marijuana, right? That instead of coming from the cannabis, comes from the hemp, which is genetically, it's like cousins, right? So it doesn't give you a high. It's here in the US. It's completely legal, and honestly, it's a great functional ingredient. It has worked for, or it works for many things. Pain reducer, for anxiety, for it. So it's a nice trend. It's becoming very popular, but it's for a good reason.
But under a production point of view, I mean, you are used to, okay, chocolate bars, so probably percentage, a different kind of sugar, percentage of cocoa, percentage of cocoa butter. Then there are bars with flavors, inclusion, these sort of things. How different is to deal with CBD as an ingredient of the chocolate?
Very different.
But it's complicated. It's more.
It is. But more than complicated, it's like everything in life, right? You get used to it, but definitely it's something that you have to take very good care, right? In the chocolate manufacturing, the common chocolate manufacturing, you take good care of flavor. So you take care of everything in the bean, where you store that cacao, where you put that liquid, if so the flavor, it's kept the way that you want it, right? But in the CBD, particularly in the CBD, you have to be very careful with the dosing, because CBD is, I mean, it has to be very precise on the dose that you offer, and it's also a very expensive ingredient.
It is legally limited, isn't it?
It is legally limited in the amount of THC
Exactly.
for some type of CBD. For the full spectrum, which contains all the cannabinoids, including THC, it has to be less than 0.3% of THC in order to be legal. But aside from that, the CBD, it's a very expensive ingredient. So if you do a mistake, it's gonna cost a lot. Also, the CBD usually, when you get it, the extraction method. I mean, you can have CBD in many forms. Sometimes you get it in with oils, with MCT oil, and that MCT oil, which is coconut oil, it's gonna affect the chocolate. It's gonna affect the temperature of the chocolate. So you have to understand how it is. Or if it is on a distillate, which is like a very thick paste, then you need to understand how to melt it properly, so the properties of the CBD are not damaged, but also it can work with the chocolate. And so the other thing is that you need to mix it up very well. You have to understand and know how to mix it up very well. So yes, there are some specific processes that has to be very good taken care in order to really make, the chocolate with.
In which way the chocolate change the the property? So when you work it, when you use the tempering with a dark chocolate, you can go since 48 to 52, 53 Celsius for the melting, and then you go to temperate since 30, 41. And with the oil inside, there are differences, or it is always the same?
Well, it usually there should be no difference, because the amount of CBD in percentage for the total formula is not much that it should affect. But again, it all depends on how you receive the CBD. Because if you receive the CBD diluted, let's say diluted at 10 to 1 with MCT oil, then you have to put almost 10% in there of cocoa butter. You know that it will affect. So you have to deal with different parameters in the tempering in order to make it work.
Yeah.
My recommendation always try to get the CBD as a distillate. So it doesn't. So it's the less diluted, and you will need less to put it in there. You have to be very careful, in your dosages,
Yeah.
in order not to make any expensive mistake. But it should work perfectly well.
Talking about your knowledge and experience about chocolate, where did you get experience? Okay, you told us Venezuela and Santo Domingo, but how? I mean, you were born with cocoa beans, and normally in Europe there is a strict difference between the ones that make chocolate from the beans and the chocolatier, the French word, that they use chocolate for making maybe pralines and things like that. So you always have been stuck to the chocolate bars, or you just varied your production and you went from the bars to the pralines to, I don't know, any kind of product that can be made by chocolate?
So although I'm here doing a lot of uh, what you can call chocolatiers, right? It's about making truffles and making, confections. My background and my experience has always been into chocolate making as a chocolate maker, right? Um, I will tell you that 90% or 80% of my knowledge is based on experience and trial and error. It's about 25 years of trial and errors, and the more you do mistakes, the
More
more
you
you
learn.
the more you learn. Unfortunately, but I feel lucky and I feel honored and blessed to be part of the family business, and to have learned everything that I have learned. Then, obviously, when you get out to trade shows, to specialty courses, and so on, then you start seeing all the things that you didn't knew about, right? Sometimes I get mad because I say like, "Oh my God, I've been so many years doing this way, and it was wrong." How can I if I have time, I'm gonna share with you some quick experience.
Yeah.
When we started, we didn't knew about the melangers, about the small melangers, right?
Yeah.
And so we made an invention of having KitchenAids with a special blade, a special mixer,
Uh-huh.
and we bought bowls, steel bowls,
Yeah.
and we created
A ball mill. Tabletop.
I mean, you can't believe how hard they were. They sounded, number one, they sounded like crazy. So the room was impossible to be in there. Then to clean the steel balls, then I mean, we had so much trouble. And then when I saw it and say, oh my God, I can't believe that the melangers are now like this small. Oh my God, for how many years we've been doing this?
Wow. And the chocolate market is different since 20 years ago. More or less 10 years ago, started from US, the bean to bar, the bean to bar chocolate crafters. Then they grew, arrived everywhere in the world, the same philosophy, and it is a big opportunity for the farmers, for new people that want to change their life, and also for the chocolate market, because we I born with industrial chocolate, so it was a limited point of view, and now the people can choose, can see, can do trials, and can also understand. After COVID, what do you think about the bean to bar market? It could growing or not in the next years.
You know what? I remember when I was in Chocoa, 2020 was the last Chocoa.
Yeah,
We saw we were there, right?
we
Remember?
were there.
And and I remember that the distributors were being very, very specific that the market for bean to bar was saturated already. There were too many makers, and so more and more offer than demand for the product. So you have to be innovative and so on. I think that one of the things that has been changing and growing is the need, and again, also moved because of COVID, is the need for healthier choices. So I just went about, I don't know, 2 3 weeks ago in one of the American Association of Candy Technologists seminars, right? And it's about all the technical people of all the big brands, the massive industrial brands, right? And I've seen two trends that are growing. Number one is the sugar reduction, but seeing all these big companies really thinking about getting into sugar reductions means that it's growing the market. And the other one was in what it's called here in the US, the edibles, which is chocolates with CBD or with cannabis and with functional ingredients. So I believe that, or I would like to see more and more artists and makers getting into these new trends, or trying to innovate their products by managing to reduce sugar, but keeping the flavor, managing to keep the amazing flavor of the cacao, and also dealing with functional ingredients that are more focused on the purpose and the functionality that it can give than flavor.
So do you think that also the cannabis, the CBD market is growing? I mean, on the artisanal point of view, because as all the new business, when you start and you find a difficult business, okay, and you just told us that it's quite complicated to mix, oil, chocolate. I'm talking about CBD in chocolate, okay? Do you think that also the CBD chocolate is going to develop, is going to improve and increase, or it's going to be stabilized because of the difficulties in production?
My personal opinion is that the market for cannabis and CBD is gonna explode in the next years because of the functionality, because of the novelty, and because, in particular, with CBD, because of regulations. So right now there is an issue with regulations in edibles with CBD, and everybody's waiting for the FDA to finish it out, all the data and testings and everything, in order to pronounce in favor of the edibles with CBD. Once that happens, that we hope, we assume that it's going to happen, I don't know, in 2 3 4 5 years, then you're going to see all the big brands. We have seen news all over, ice cream companies, or I don't remember if it was Coca-Cola or Pepsi, making notes that they're working on development of their products with CBD.
Coke, CBD Coke.
I don't know. They have many brands and many products, but I remember seeing notes of, like public notes of it. So I believe that once FDA approves in favor of the CBD edibles, you're going to see massive adoption, because there's going to be a lot of marketing budget from big companies going in there, and it will become an industry, a real big industry.
I was thinking about what you said at the beginning of our interview, your different origins, so Europe, Israel, Venezuela, and now you are living in Miami. Under the chocolate point of view, did you succeed in mixing these different cultures and creating something particular, as you are, but in chocolate?
Well, I mean, yes. But I'm just starting. I would like to do more.
Which are the differences, if you could make a comparison?
But there are some things. For example, to do a chocolate with functional ingredients is something that is always thought about using not such an amazing cacao, or not giving all the like all the importance to the cacao. So from the start, I created the chocolate with the cacao as the main ingredient. So sourcing cacao from Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Peru. I mean, sourcing amazing cacao was important. To create the chocolate in an artisan way was very important, with the CBD and the functional ingredients. And I haven't started with flavors because of the strategy and the whole, plan that we have in the company. But you're going to see it sooner or later. I'm going to start with flavors. And I have a lot of amazing flavors on my mind. And yes, some are very related to spices and things that I love from my other cultures, from Israel and Europe and so on.
How has been the market for you, for your company during the COVID?
It had, at the beginning it was hit like any other, right?
Yeah.
But it has ramped it up very well. CBD, in particular, and we don't do cannabis, but CBD has grown a lot during the pandemic because CBD, people claims to be more relaxed
Yeah.
and to help them during all these, stressful and challenging.
With all this bad news that each day we have to see in the television. Yes.
Yes, and it's way more healthier than alcohol, which grew like crazy, during the pandemic. So
Yeah. And about the future, how do you see your company in 10 years or 20 years?
I would like to believe to see this company where I am now as the leading manufacturer and player of functional chocolates. That's how I wanted to call it. And regarding the family businesses, we have a lot. You have also very, very good plans in Venezuela and in Dominican Republic to be main players in those areas.
Good. And we wish you all the best then.
Thanks.
So, Moses, we have finished. I thank you a lot for your time, and I hope to see you soon in some exhibition like in the past.
And shake hands, that we can touch each other maybe. Maybe once in the future we could again.
Absolutely, we will. I'm pretty sure of it.
We will.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Take good care. See you soon.
Ciao, ciao.